Tina hadn't been to this cafe in over a year, not since things started falling apart. The place used to be her sanctuary, the quiet spot where she could think, sip coffee, and lose herself in a book. But today was different. Today, she needed somewhere familiar. Somewhere she could breathe, even if just for a moment. It was late afternoon, and the cafe was almost empty. The soft hum of quiet conversations and clinking mugs created a calm atmosphere. Tina took her seat at the corner table, the one with the best view of the street. She always sat here, by the window, so she could watch the world go by. The glass was fogged up from the chill outside, but the orange glow of the setting sun still peeked through. She ordered a cappuccino, her favorite. The familiar taste would be a small comfort, something to ground her as she processed the chaos that had been her life recently. But as she sat there, trying to find some peace in the moment, something felt off. The air seemed heavier. A sense of unease crept over her. She couldn't put her finger on it. Was it the sudden change in the weather? Or maybe it was the memories that kept flooding back. Tina shook her head, trying to push the thoughts away. She didn't need to think about the past. Not today. Not here. The door to the cafe opened, and a figure entered. At first, Tina barely noticed. It was just another customer. But then the manager appeared from behind the counter, moving with a purpose. His face was tense, eyes scanning the room. And when his gaze landed on her, Tina's stomach dropped. He walked briskly toward her table, his steps deliberate. His uniform was pressed, the silver name tag gleaming under the cafe's soft lighting. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said, his voice polite but firm, "I'm afraid you'll have to leave." Tina blinked, caught off guard. "What?" I'm sorry, I don't understand." The manager's eyes didn't soften. "You're causing a disturbance," he said, his words clipped, almost rehearsed. "Please, leave now." Tina stared at him, trying to comprehend what was happening. There was no one else in the cafe. No loud conversations. No chaos. Nothing. Just her, sitting quietly, trying to enjoy her drink. "I don't understand," she repeated, her voice faltering. "I haven't said anything. I haven't done anything wrong." But the manager didn't seem to care. He gestured toward the door, his posture unyielding. "I'm sorry, ma'am. You'll need to leave." Tina's heart raced. The sudden confrontation, the coldness in the manager's tone, didn't make sense. What was happening? She glanced around, noticing that the staff seemed to be watching her with nervous eyes, avoiding her gaze. It was as if they knew something she didn't. She slowly stood up, her legs feeling unsteady. The pressure of the situation, the strange urgency in the manager's voice, made her head spin. What was going on here? Why was she being asked to leave when she'd done nothing wrong? Her mind scrambled for answers, but there was no time to ask. The manager was already moving away from her, signaling to the staff to clear the table. It was as though they were expecting her to be gone, as if this had all been planned out ahead of time. Her stomach twisted into knots. "Please," Tina said, her voice trembling. "I don't know why you're doing this." But the manager was already walking toward the back of the cafe, not sparing her another glance. Tina stood there, frozen, her pulse hammering in her ears. She grabbed her purse, trying to gather herself, but her hands felt numb. How had everything gone so wrong, so quickly? With no choice but to obey, Tina made her way toward the door. The manager didn't even look back, and the staff didn't say a word. The silence that followed her felt suffocating, as if they were all complicit in some strange, unspoken agreement. When she stepped outside, the cool evening air hit her like a splash of cold water. She stood there for a moment, collecting herself, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Was it some kind of mistake? Or had something else been going on behind the scenes? As she turned to walk away, she heard the unmistakable sound of a car pulling up. A sleek, black Porsche. Tina's heart skipped a beat. The car came to a smooth stop just in front of the cafe, its engine purring like a predator. For a moment, she didn't think much of it. Cars passed by all the time. But then the door opened, and the man who stepped out of the vehicle took her completely by surprise. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and moved with an air of confidence that seemed almost predatory. His suit was expensive, well-tailored. He was a man who commanded attention without even trying. But it wasn't just the way he looked that caught her off guard, it was the way he carried himself, like he belonged to a world Tina could never hope to understand. He didn't look at her, didn't even acknowledge her presence as he walked toward the cafe. But something about him, something in the way he moved, made Tina's stomach drop. She couldn't look away. There was something familiar about him, but she couldn't place it. She stood rooted to the spot, watching him. Who was this man? Why did she feel like she knew him? Just then, another figure appeared beside her. A woman, younger than Tina, dressed in casual clothes but exuding a quiet strength. She looked at Tina for a brief moment before her eyes drifted to the man who had just entered the cafe. "Do you know him?" Tina asked before she could stop herself. The question slipped out, almost involuntarily. The woman glanced at her, her expression unreadable. "No," she said softly. "But he's important." Tina frowned. "Important?" The woman nodded. "You'll find out soon enough." Before Tina could ask another question, the door to the cafe opened again, and the man reappeared, his footsteps slow and deliberate. This time, he wasn't alone. A figure walked. Behind him, a woman, also dressed in high-end fashion, who seemed to hang on his every word. The man scanned the street as if looking for someone. His eyes landed on Tina, and suddenly, everything inside her seemed to freeze. He stared at her for what felt like an eternity. His gaze was intense, calculating. And then, he took a few steps toward her, his gaze never wavering. Tina's breath caught in her throat. Before she could gather her thoughts, the man spoke. His voice was smooth, deep, almost familiar. "Are you going to leave without saying hello, Tina?" Tina's mind went blank. She stepped back, her heart pounding in her chest. I don't know you," she said, her voice trembling. Her stomach was in knots, a cold sweat forming on her palms. The man smiled, a small, knowing smile that sent a chill down Tina's spine. "You don't remember me, do you?" Tina's breath hitched in her throat. She was certain she had never seen him before. But there was something about him, something in the way he looked at her, that felt strangely familiar. "I'm sorry," she stammered. "I don't remember you." The man's smile faded, replaced by something darker. "You will," he said softly, his voice almost a whisper. "You'll remember me soon enough." And with that, he turned and walked back into the cafe, leaving Tina standing on the sidewalk, her mind spinning. Her pulse raced as she struggled to catch her breath. Her thoughts were scattered, her heart racing as she tried to make sense of everything that had just happened. Who was he? What did he want from her? And why had he made her feel like she was on the verge of remembering something she couldn't quite grasp? But the answers seemed just out of reach. The mystery was growing deeper, more unsettling, and Tina couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Something much larger, much darker, was unfolding around her. And there was no way she could turn back now. Tina couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The encounter with the man in the Porsche, his unsettling presence, the way he seemed to know her name, haunted her as she walked home. The evening air, which had been crisp and cool when she stepped outside, now felt oppressive. Each step she took felt heavier, as though an unseen force was pushing down on her. Her mind raced. Who was that man? The question echoed in her thoughts, reverberating through her chest like a drumbeat she couldn't escape. His voice, calm and smooth, still lingered in her ears. "You'll remember me soon enough." But what did that mean? Remember him from where? Her pulse quickened as she reached her apartment building. The hallway felt unnervingly quiet as she made her way to the door. The usual hum of voices, the sounds of neighbors passing by, were absent. She paused in front of her door, but something stopped her from going inside. Her gaze turned toward the hallway's end, where the light flickered. For a moment, she thought she saw a shadow move across the floor. She blinked and the shadow was gone. Her heartbeat quickened. It wasn't unusual for the light in the hallway to flicker, but the presence of the shadow, the feeling that someone, or something, was watching her, set her on edge. She pushed the thought aside, opened her door, and stepped inside. The apartment felt emptier than usual. Her small two-bedroom apartment in the heart of the city used to be filled with warmth and love, but now it felt cold. The silence pressed in from all sides. Tina put her purse down on the kitchen counter and walked toward the window. She glanced down at the street below, watching as cars passed by, their headlights reflecting off the wet pavement. The usual sense of peace she found in watching the city unfold outside her window was gone. Instead, her thoughts returned to the man in the Porsche. What did he mean by, "You'll remember me soon enough"? The words had replayed in her mind 1,000 times since he said them. Something was off. The sharp sound of her phone ringing snapped her from her thoughts. She picked it up quickly, almost too eagerly. "Hello?" Her voice came out a little more frantic than she intended. "Tina?" A familiar voice echoed through the receiver. It was her friend, Maya. Tina let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. "Maya, thank God. I need to talk to you." "What happened? You sound shaken." Maya's voice, always calm, held concern. "I'm not sure. Something strange happened at the cafe today." Tina's voice wavered. "I was kicked out, and then a man, he appeared out of nowhere. He knew my name." Maya was silent for a moment. "Are you sure you didn't just imagine it? You've been through a lot lately." "I'm telling you, he knew my name, Maya. He said I'd remember him soon enough, but I don't recognize him. I've never seen him before." Another silence fell, but this time, it felt heavier. "Tina, that doesn't sound normal. Who was he?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out," Tina replied, her voice tight with frustration. I'm just so confused." "Tina, I'm coming over. We'll figure this out together. Just stay inside. Don't go anywhere." "I won't," Tina assured her. After they hung up, Tina couldn't help but feel a little better. Maya's presence, even if just in conversation, always calmed her. But the nagging feeling in the pit of her stomach wouldn't go away. Something was happening, something big, and she wasn't ready for it. She paced around her apartment, running her fingers through her hair as her thoughts whirled. Minutes later, the doorbell rang, and Tina rushed to open it. Maya stood in the doorway, wearing a concerned expression, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. Her sharp eyes scanned Tina, taking in the visible signs of distress. "Are you okay?" Maya asked, stepping inside. "I don't know," Tina admitted, letting her friend in. "I feel like I'm losing my mind." Maya pulled her into a hug. "You're not losing your mind. But whatever is going on, we're going to figure it out." Tina felt her shoulders relax, just a little. Maya always knew how to make her feel like things were manageable, even when they weren't. But the worry gnawing at her was real. "Tell me everything from the start," Maya said, sitting down on the couch, urging Tina to join her. Tina sat beside her and recounted everything: the cafe, the confrontation with the manager, the man in the Porsche. She even told Maya about the strange way he looked at her and the unsettling words he spoke. "Do you think it could be someone from your past?" Maya asked thoughtfully. Maybe an old friend, someone you don't remember? I don't know, Tina replied, shaking her head. I've been thinking about that all night. But nothing comes to mind. He looked too unfamiliar. Maya thought for a moment, her fingers tapping on her knee. You said he was wearing a suit, right? Expensive? Yeah, Tina said. It was perfect. He looked like he belonged in a world I can't even imagine. Okay, Maya said slowly, then it's possible that he's someone in a position of power or influence. Maybe he knows more about you than you realize. Tina frowned. What do you mean? I'm just saying, you've been living here for a long time, Tina. Maybe there's something about your past that you've forgotten. Maybe something important. Tina shuddered at the thought. Her past was complicated. It wasn't something she liked to think about, and it definitely wasn't something she wanted to revisit. But Maya's words made a small seed of doubt sprout in her mind. Could there really be something about her past she had forgotten? Something that connected her to the man in the Porsche? I don't want to go digging into the past, Tina said, her voice quiet. I've moved on from all that. Maya gave her a serious look. Sometimes, Tina, the past doesn't let you move on. Not until you face it. And it's clear that something about that man is tied to it. Tina looked away, unable to meet her friend's eyes. The weight of Maya's words settled on her like a heavy blanket, smothering her. She hadn't wanted to face the past, but maybe, just maybe, she had no choice. The clock ticked in the background, each second stretching out longer than the last. Suddenly, a noise from outside caught their attention. A car had parked nearby, its engine still running. Tina stood up, walking to the window. Her breath caught in her throat when she saw the Porsche again. It was parked across the street. But this time, the man was nowhere to be seen. Her heart raced as she peered out from behind the curtains. Had he been following her? Was he watching her? Was this all part of some sick game? Her phone buzzed suddenly, snapping her back to the moment. A message from an unknown number. You'll remember me soon enough. Tina's breath hitched. The message was identical to what the man had said earlier. This is bad, Tina whispered, her mind reeling. Maya stepped closer, looking at the phone screen. Tina, who is this? Before Tina could respond, the phone buzzed again. Another message. Meet me at the old warehouse by the docks tomorrow night. Come alone. Tina's eyes widened in shock. The warehouse. She'd heard rumors about that place. Abandoned for years, surrounded by mystery and rumors. It was the last place she wanted to go. And yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that it was the only place she would find answers. But was she ready to face the truth? Could she trust whoever was behind the messages? There was only one way to find out. Tina couldn't breathe. The message still hovered in front of her, as if daring her to make a decision. Her fingers trembled around her phone. Meet me at the old warehouse by the docks tomorrow night. Come alone. Her first instinct was to delete the message and forget all about it. Walk away. Turn her back on this madness. But another part of her, the part that had always sought the truth, even when it was uncomfortable, whispered to her to go. To confront whatever this was. The silence in the room was suffocating. Maya stood by the window, her face drawn with worry, the light from the street lamp outside casting long shadows across the floor. You can't go, Tina. This is too dangerous, Maya finally spoke, her voice shaky but firm. She turned around and stepped closer to her friend. We have no idea who this person is, or what they want. This could be a trap. You're putting yourself at risk. Tina swallowed hard. Maya was right, but the idea of turning her back on this, on the chance that it might unlock the mystery of her past, something that had been hidden for so long, made her skin prickle with unease. I have to go, Maya, she said quietly. I have no choice. Maya's eyes widened, her mouth opening as though she wanted to protest again, but Tina stopped her with a look. It wasn't that she didn't care about her safety. It wasn't that she wasn't terrified, because she was. But something inside her, something deep within her, was pulling her toward the warehouse. She could feel it in her bones. "You don't know what this will do to you," Maya said, her voice breaking. "It could ruin everything." "I don't know if it'll ruin everything, but I need to understand what's going on." Tina's words were soft, but they carried the weight of a decision made in the depths of her soul. "This person knows something I don't. And I can't move on until I know what it is." There was a long pause, and Tina saw the struggle in Maya's eyes. She could feel her friend's pain, the fear of losing her to something unknown, but Maya finally nodded, though reluctantly. "If you're going, I'm coming with you," Maya said, her voice steady despite the fear she must have felt. "You're not going alone." Tina hesitated. "I can't let you do that. It's too dangerous. I don't want you to get involved in this." "I'm already involved, Tina. I'm your friend. If you go, I'm going. That's what friends do." Tina didn't have the strength to argue. Maya's loyalty, her unyielding care, made Tina feel something like comfort, even if only for a fleeting moment. But the cold reality of the situation crept back in. She couldn't stay in this apartment. She couldn't wait here, paralyzed by fear. The warehouse, wherever that was waiting for her. The promise of answers tugged at her, and she knew she had no choice but to face whatever was waiting there. The next day passed in a blur. Tina didn't remember most of it. The world outside felt muffled, as though it existed behind a pane of glass. Every sound, every person passing by, seemed distant and irrelevant. She couldn't stop thinking about the warehouse. Couldn't stop thinking about the man in the Porsche. And then, as the sun began to set, the time came. Tina stood by the door, her coat already on, her keys clutched tightly in her hand. Maya was pacing in the living room, muttering under her breath. "You're really going, huh?" Maya said, looking up from her shoes. "I have to." Tina's voice was low but determined. Maya gave a long sigh. "This doesn't feel right. It feels like walking into a trap." "I know," Tina admitted. "But I don't see another way out." A soft knock on the door made them both jump. Tina's heart skipped a beat. Her first thought was that it was the man, coming to collect her or to tell her to hurry up. Tina opened the door slowly, her breath held in her throat. But no one was there. Only a small envelope lay on the ground, with no name, no indication of who had left it. Tina's hand shook as she bent down to pick it up. She opened it quickly, pulling out a single piece of paper with only one sentence written on it in sharp, precise handwriting. "The truth will find you, but you won't like it." Tina's stomach lurched. She felt the ground shift beneath her feet as she read the message over and over again, trying to make sense of it. "The truth will find you," she felt cold all over. The words were ominous, cryptic. But they felt personal. It was almost like whoever wrote them knew her, knew what she feared. Maya was staring at the paper with wide eyes. Who sent this? How do they know what's going on? Tina didn't know. She had no answers. But her gut told her the truth was coming, whether she was ready for it or not. And this man, this mysterious figure, was the key to everything. She folded the paper and stuffed it into her pocket. "Let's go," Tina said, her voice steady, though her heart pounded in her chest. The old warehouse by the docks was exactly how Tina imagined it. Dark, dilapidated, abandoned. The air smelled of rust and mildew, and the silence was so thick it was almost suffocating. It was a place that whispered of lost time, forgotten promises, and secrets buried deep beneath its rotting walls. Tina couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking into a graveyard, each step carrying her closer to something she couldn't undo. She looked at Maya, who had been quiet ever since they arrived. There was fear in her eyes, but she wasn't leaving. Not without Tina. The night was eerily still, save for the occasional creak of metal. The docks, usually alive with the sounds of ships and workers, were silent, as though the entire area had been abandoned. The only thing that seemed to move was the slow, rhythmic sway of the water. Tina's phone buzzed again, and she pulled it out, her hands trembling. A new message. "You're here. Come inside. Don't keep me waiting." Without another word, Tina pushed open the creaky door of the warehouse and stepped inside, the sound of her footsteps echoing through the vast, empty space. The dim light from the moon filtered in through cracks in the walls, casting long shadows. And then, she saw him. The man in the Porsche. He was standing near the far corner of the warehouse, his figure dark and imposing. The moment he saw her, his lips curled into a small, knowing smile. "You came," he said, his voice as smooth and calm as before. Tina felt a chill run through her spine. There was something unsettling about the way he looked at her, as though he was measuring her every reaction, every movement. "I don't know who you are," Tina said, her voice firm despite the fear curling in her chest. The man chuckled softly, the sound like a distant echo. "You will. Soon enough." Tina didn't move, didn't know what to say. "Why me?" she asked, her voice quieter now. "Why are you doing this? What do you want from me?" The man stepped closer, his eyes never leaving hers. "I'm not the one you should be worried about," he said cryptically. "But don't worry, you'll meet the person who really holds the answers soon enough. You're just a pawn in a much bigger game." Tina's heart pounded in her chest. "A pawn? What does that mean?" "You'll understand," he replied. "In time." Just then, Tina heard a noise behind her. She spun around, but the man was already gone, disappearing into the shadows of the warehouse. Her body tensed. What was this? She had walked right into something that felt far bigger than her, and much more dangerous. A flash of light caught her attention from across the room. Then, she heard a voice, one that she hadn't expected, and never thought she would hear again. The warehouse felt suffocating as Tina stood frozen, her breath caught in her throat. The voice that had called her name echoed through the cold, dark space, reverberating off the walls. For a moment, she was paralyzed by disbelief. She hadn't imagined it. She hadn't imagined hearing that voice. It was real. A voice from her past. It was his voice. The voice of the man she had thought was gone forever. Her father. Her father was alive. Tina's mind spun. Her body trembled, the air around her thick with the weight of shock and confusion. She had spent years mourning him, convincing herself that she had moved on, that she had no answers left to seek. But now, here it was, an unexpected revelation that threatened to undo everything she thought she knew. The man in the shadows, the one she had come to this warehouse for, was no longer the only mystery. The voice, the sudden appearance of her father, was the real enigma now. As Tina stood frozen in place, Maya's voice broke through the fog of her mind. "Tina, what is it? What's going on?" Tina turned to her, her face pale, eyes wide. "It's him, Maya. It's my father." Maya's face contorted in confusion, unable to process the weight of Tina's words. "Your father? But I thought he—" "I thought so too," Tina whispered, her voice trembling. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself, but nothing made sense anymore. "But he's here. Somewhere in this building." Maya looked at her, fear creeping into her expression. "What does he want from you?" "I don't know," Tina admitted. "I don't know. But I'm about to find out." Just then, the flickering of a distant light caught her attention. Tina didn't hesitate. She started walking towards it, her body moving on its own. Maya hesitated behind her, but she didn't stop her. She knew that Tina had to see this through, no matter how dangerous it might be. The hallway they entered was dimly lit, the cold concrete floor creaking underfoot as Tina's steps echoed through the silence. The light flickered again, leading them down a narrow corridor towards an old office space at the far end of the warehouse. Every step felt heavy, like the weight of the world was on her shoulders. As they reached the door, Tina's heart pounded in her chest. She could feel the presence of something, or someone, on the other side. The air was thick with anticipation, and the closer she got, the more her body betrayed her with every beat of her heart. Finally, she reached for the doorknob. She didn't know what she expected to find behind it, but she knew she had no choice but to walk through. With a deep breath, Tina opened the door. Inside was a small, dark room. At the center of the room stood a figure, a tall, imposing man. His back was turned to her, but there was no mistaking him. She could feel it in her bones. This was him. Her father. "Tina," the man said, his voice calm and steady, just as it had been when he called her name earlier. "I knew you would come." Tina's throat tightened. She wanted to speak, wanted to ask all the questions that had been consuming her for years, but her words wouldn't come. She had no idea what to say. What could she possibly ask? How could she process the truth that had just been revealed? "You have questions," her father said, turning to face her. His eyes were the same as hers. Familiar. Cold, yet comforting in a strange way. "I know. But first, you need to understand the truth. The truth about everything." Tina's breath caught. "What truth? What is this? Why didn't you come back? Why did you disappear?" Her father sighed, the weight of her words evident in his expression. "It wasn't my choice, Tina. I didn't leave because I wanted to. I had to. There were things I needed to protect you from. You were never meant to be involved in any of this." Tina's confusion deepened. "What are you talking about? What is this? What do you mean, protect me?" Her father stepped closer, his presence imposing yet somehow familiar. "You were always meant to stay away from the world I was a part of. I made sure you were safe, that you were away from the danger that surrounded me. But now, things have changed. They know who you are, and they won't stop until they get what they want." "Who? What do they want?" Tina asked, her voice rising with frustration. "They want you, Tina. You were never just a child. You were never just some ordinary girl. Your mother and I kept you hidden for a reason. You're part of something much bigger than you realize." Tina felt a chill wash over her as his words sunk in. "What are you saying? That I'm, what? Special?" Her father nodded slowly. "Yes, Tina. You were born into a world you don't understand. A world that's been hunting you since you were a child." A cold shiver ran through Tina's body. "Hunting me? What do you mean?" The man's face hardened. "You're the key to something, Tina. Something so important that people are willing to kill for it. I had to protect you from them. But I failed." Tina's mind was racing, and the world seemed to blur around her. "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you come back?" "I couldn't. The danger was too great. They were always watching, waiting for the right moment. I had to disappear to keep you safe." "Safe?" Tina repeated, her voice cracking. "And now?" Her father looked at her, his expression filled with regret. "Now, they're close. They're coming for you. And there's nothing I can do to stop them." Tina's chest tightened. "So, what? You've kept me in the dark for all these years, and now you want me to just accept it?" "I didn't want this for you, Tina," he said quietly. "But you're caught up in it now. There's no turning back." Tina stood still, her mind whirling with this new revelation. She felt like she was drowning, her thoughts crashing against each other in a chaotic frenzy. Her father, the man she had mourned for so long, was alive. But the truth he had just told her felt like a nightmare. Suddenly, Tina felt something she couldn't place. A sharp pain in her chest. Her body began to tremble, and the room seemed to spin. "I don't understand," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You will," her father replied, his voice gentle now. "But not yet. You need time. But there's no more time to waste." He stepped closer, and for the first time, Tina noticed the urgency in his eyes. "You need to leave. They're coming for you, and you have to run." Tina's head was spinning. She couldn't process everything, couldn't make sense of the overwhelming rush of emotions flooding her. But there was one thing she knew for sure now. The mystery was far bigger than she had ever imagined. The danger was real. And her life, everything she thought she knew, was about to change forever. Her father's voice broke through her thoughts. "You have to trust me. Go now, Tina. Run." Before Tina could respond, the door behind her slammed open. Figures in dark clothing rushed into the room, their faces masked. "Run," her father shouted, shoving her toward the exit. "Go." Tina didn't think. She didn't question. She just ran. And as she fled into the night, her heart heavy with the weight of everything she had just learned, she realized that this was only the beginning. The truth was just starting to unravel. And nothing would ever be the same again.